Hey everyone, Tim here from TMR, and this is the second video about our IFS tube chassis kit. So in the first video, we looked at the rear trailing arms. They're pretty much done. I'll follow up with another video on them once they're fully welded out and can show you that. But today we're going to cover the rear upper link. So obviously rear trailing arms done. Now we'll move on to the rear upper link, kind of doing things in succession that way. So follow me over and we'll take a look at all the parts. So it's part number 8101 is this kit for the rear upper link, and I'll try and put some pictures on our website so you guys understand kind of how it goes together because it's pretty involved. But I got all the parts laid out on this table here, and give me a sec and we'll show you what it's all about. All right, so standing here, this would be the front of the chassis. This is gonna get, this is where two heims are gonna mount. If I slide around back here, this would be the rear of the chassis. So picture the rear axle, solid axle mounted underneath me, diffs offset to this side. Big 1.5 uniball is gonna go in here. That's this guy here. So that's machined from, we do those actually from solid 4140. It's gonna weld into the chromoly bits there. So it's gonna fit into that pocket. And then up at the other end, we've got these pinch bung style tube adapters. So they're the large 1.25 thread. They're gonna tuck in there between those plates and weld in, and then get a 1.25 FK rod end with our heat treated 17.4 high misalignments. So just like the trailing arms, we've got laser cut plates that are going to key together. This is all the interior plates, so I'll lay this all out later, but you're going to see all these plates here after I sand them. They're all going to fit within these two big ones here, and that's basically going to be a stack. The uniball, the heims up on that end, and something we want to cover similar to how we did those trailing arms. If you are heat treating, we're not going to weld in those pinch bung tube adapters. We're not going to weld in that big uniball cup yet. They're going to go in place for fitting everything together, but then they're going to get cut out. We'll do all the welding and send this out for heat treat. After they come back from heat treat, then we weld in a pinch bung there, uniball cup there. We don't do that now because the treating's gonna warp those parts. Obviously that's not something we want to deal with, so keeping life easy. And this guy here is the fixture plate for the 8101. So you'll see I'm gonna use some old heims. You can also use 1.25 bolts, either or, but that fixture plate's gonna match up with the pitch between pinch bung and pinch bung. So it's gonna hold everything nice and square, the right pitch and whatnot. But yeah, I'll show you that once we get into it. But yeah, hopefully that covers what all comes in the kit. So kind of 1 of 3 is these two plates, 2 of 3 is all the interior plates, and 3 of 3 is our uniball pinch bungs and a couple more plates that are going to go on after treating. So let's get into it. First step's going to be sanding and deburring all these plates. Prep wise, I'm going to start with these large plates. So I'm going to get them sliced open one at a time on the bench here. In terms of tools, we got 2-inch grinder, DA sander, flap disc will work as well. I don't think we're going to need it because the cutting's pretty clean on these. And acetone. After we sand everything, both sides, perimeter and whatnot, we're going to wipe everything down so it's nice and tight and clean. Okay, trick online I saw was the bottom of the sanding pads there, obviously as we're running over stuff, get dirty. Person sanded it on cardboard, seemed to clean it up. No idea if it'll work, I've never tried this. Let's see what we get. Reasonable, helped a little bit. Let's try that again. I wouldn't call that a game changer in my world, so we'll carry on, get a new pad on here and keep going. Okay, I've got the two main plates, the big top and the big bottom wishbone. They're sanded out, and now let's move on to all the interior panels. Okay, so here's all the interior stuff, and I guess some of the exterior as well. So I'll cut them open, get them all over on the bench. Same thing, sand both sides. After I'm done sanding both sides on everything, everything's gonna get a wipe and acetone, so everything's nice and tidy. something I just clued in on when unpackaging all that stuff. These two here, you can see they've got all the holes in them. They're gonna be the interior rib that's gonna go between those panels. And then these four here that are solid, obviously no holes, those ones are gonna be the exterior. In our back storage closet here, we often keep used parts that came out of the truck for a prep. So I was lucky enough that I found not one, but two right-hand 1.25" rod end packages. So those guys are going to work perfect, helping me out on this rear upper link. Let me show you how. And here's how those found heims are going to help me. So they're basically going to function as a bolt. They're going to screw one through each end of that fixture plate. And on the other side, they're gonna screw into that pinch bung tube adapter. So I gotta get these opened up, cleaned up. Nice thing is that they're made from cold finish bar, so they're not gonna clean up a lot, like there's no hot rolled finish on there, so that'll be simple to get them dialed in. Then I'll show you how that screws together. The good news, if you don't have any 1.25" heims, like old ones kicking around, obviously I don't want you using new ones because you don't want to risk roasting anything. I looked at McMaster Car, you can get 1.25" bolts for roughly like $12 each. And then yeah, they're gonna, like I say, screw in that fixture. I'll show you how this all goes. And here's the next step of how this all fits together. So you can see I've got pinch bung here facing outward, pinch bung here facing outward. I'm gonna screw those heims in from the bottom. That's gonna then fix the pinch bung to this plate. And then with those pinch bungs now at the right pitch and location, we can locate the rest of our parts on there. And if you're wondering, how do I know this faces out, not in, down, up, whatever, our website's got all those pictures in good detail. So it's easy to look up. You look up the 8101 fixture kit, which was this plate. Super simple to see how it goes together. Something I wanted to point out that we found super helpful in our shop is this ARP assembly lubricant. I've got no affiliation whatsoever with ARP, but Spider Tracks put us onto that stuff when their recommendation was to use that. I believe it was for putting the uniballs in their upper front knuckles, if I remember right. Anyways, stuff's like an anti-seize, but a little bit finer. So I'm gonna put some on the threads of the heims. I think that's just gonna help things go together and come apart nicely after I've assembled it. And that's a good look how it all goes together on the fixture. So you can see I'm just using those 1.25" heims basically as a bolt. Like I said, if you need a bolt, pick one up. If you got some used heims, even better. So I've got those two pinch bungs in there parallel to one another. And next step will be feeding all the laser cut pieces onto those. Now that I've got everything assembled and tacked together, you can see kind of how this arm looks as an overall. And I got myself a set of instructions for my brother, and they turned out to be quite helpful. And unfortunately, now that I've read the instructions, I've got to backpedal on something. So earlier in the video, I showed you or suggested the uniball cup, pinch bung, were not going to be welded in place right now because they could warp. I thought we'd do that after heat treat, but this part doesn't really work like that. I don't know if you can tell in this design print, but specifically on the pinch bungs, there's like 3 vertical plates. You got our middle plus the 2 sides, and then you got a top and a bottom cap that all come together there. Same with the other pinch bung. If you look at the anti-wobble, or sorry, the uniball, same sort of deal. We've got the vertical plates coming into it, and then the top and the bottom cap. There's also some overlays. There's gonna be an overlay go over this after I weld it, an overlay wrap around the back. So based on the design of this part, no, we're not doing it the way we are doing the trailing arms. the bearing cup and the tube adapters, they're going in now. They get welded in now. We're going to press a steel slug into this guy that's going to act as a heat sink and do its best to prevent any distortion during heat treat. Same with those guys. We'll leave some Heims or bolts threaded in there with anti-seize on them. We're probably also going to weld in a couple spreader bars. Definitely one up there, probably a middle. I don't think we need one here because of how much width we've got in cross section. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of where we're at now. And another detail to show you guys is I've tack welded this shit out of this thing. We don't want any movement while we're welding. So now that it's tacked together like this, top and bottom, everything's fit. To be honest, the fit's phenomenal on this. The next job is going to be to weld up all these vertical slots all the way around. One side, flip the arm over 180, do the other side. Once those are done, and that's cool, then we can move on to the outside corner perimeter welding of the whole assembly. And that covers the construction and assembly of this rear upper link for IFS chassis. If you've got questions, post them below. If you enjoy the video, comment, let us know, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, next part, I believe, is going to be the front upper A-arm. So excited to move on to the front end of this car, and we'll keep you guys posted with lots of content.